here tonight. It's nice to see such a smiling, pleasant crowd of residents who are interested in our town and what is in the best interest of our town. So I thank you for giving up your time to be here tonight. And with that, I'd like to ask you all to please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call. Councilwoman Aldersley. Here. Councilwoman Esley.
Present.
Councilman Marosco.
Here.
Councilman Perticone.
Here.
Supervisor Durizio.
Here.
And Attorney for the Town Cresac.
Here.
Thank you.
Thank you, Barb. The first presentation we have tonight is from the Saints and Sinners organizations. Now let's think. Where are some of us in those? Are we saints or are we sinners? We have two individuals coming forward. We'll see which one's the saint and which is the sinner, as they'd like to do a presentation for the Irondequoit Police Department.
I'm too old to be a sinner, that's the problem. Madam Supervisor, members of the board, I had the pleasure of knowing all of you for a long time, but for the record, I'm Tony Sortino. I'm here on behalf of Saints and Sinners, which is a local not-for-profit that donates to other local charities. And I have with me Tom Thaney, our president, who's going to make a donation to DARE. And DARE, by the way, as a result of our chief, is probably the best in the county and probably the best in Western New York. They do a good job. But briefly, since our inception, we have given over $850,000 to local charities. We do it very quietly. Some of them that you may know. Cure Childhood Cancer Center, Cooley's Anemia, Gilda's Club of Rochester Cancer Action, Gilisano's Children's Hospital, Heritage Christian Home, Huntington's Disease Society, Irondequoit Community Cupboard, and of course DARE. We've been giving donations to DARE since 2001. So with that ado, I'd like to introduce you to our president, who will make the presentation.
Thank you, Counselor.
Hi. I just want you to know that DARE is a very program that we're very, very concerned with, and we plan on supporting it for many, many more years. I'm 2 years president, so we will be supporting it at least for 2 more. It's one of our favorite charities, and Tony's my favorite guy on the board. But we just appreciate the programs that you run in this town, and any other programs that you feel that need some help, please feel free to contact us, and we'll try to get you on the list. Because we do try to donate to charities that the United Way kind of skips over, and especially ones that deal with youth. So we're honored to make this donation again tonight, and hopefully next year we'll have a bigger donation for the DARE program. Hey, son, how are you? But Tony is, you got one great advocate here. I live in Chili, so, if I can sell my house, I'd love to move to Irondequoit.
Well, we will give you a realtor to help you.
I'd like to thank the Saints and Sinners for their continuous support throughout the years. The state budgets have greatly reduced their contribution to our DARE program. Our DARE program now totally is on volunteer donations to the DARE organization that keeps it going in our grade schools. So really do appreciate it. Without some of these donations, we couldn't keep going.
We're going to keep doing
so thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
One footnote, why the DARE program in Irondequoit is so successful. Most of them start in high school. The chief determined that's too late. They go right to the grammar schools and start early training, and that's where they get the most effect, and that's why they're the best in Monroe County and probably Western New York. Chief, thank you very much for the good work you do.
Thank you. Thanks again.
Thank you.
And at this time, Mary Ellen Jones from Irondequoit Public Library.
Good evening, Madam Supervisor and Town Board. Stephanie Squiccerini, our president, is out of town, so she asked me to give an update to you on what's going on with the library. I am a member of the Board of Trustees, and first of all, I'd like to thank the board for our reappointments and the new appointment of Jack Harima to the Board of Trustees. His business expertise is a great asset already to our board. I would also like to thank the citizens who spoke out so favorably about their love for our libraries. And I want to thank you, the town board, for being responsive to them and allocating the funds to restore evening and Saturday hours to both branches. The new hours will begin January 30th, and February 4th will be the first Saturday that both branches will be open. People can pick up... Obviously, we made the right decision, all of us. People can pick up handy magnets at both branches that you can put on your refrigerator that gives the hours when the libraries are open. The work of Passero has begun on updating the costs of all the options from the Thomas Group study that was done several years ago. Because so many years have gone by, the cost of the various options has changed dramatically. So this will give us all the possibilities of moving forward with today's costs as our guidelines. Keeping with the theme of fostering dialogue among our townspeople, we are following the recommendations of our consultant that we stay attuned to the interest and needs of the people. We are currently talking to a marketing professor about how to collect accurate information about what people want in the future. If we are going to lose grant money, such as the MCLS denial of our paving request, because we're not keeping pace with the needs of our library users, then we want to make sure we know what people want and how they want us to get there. We do pay attention to what people say, as I know does the supervisor and all the town board. So I would ask you to please contact us at our website, iplboard@yahoo.com. We would like to remind people that blogging is an opinion and not necessarily fact. You are welcome to call Terry Buford, our director, or refer to the website when you have a question, and we can promise you you'll get a factual answer. We're looking forward in the upcoming year to working with the town board to make sure that our library system receives the attention it needs so that we can continue to provide the services that our town both deserves and needs. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mary. One of the things that I'd like to stress at this time, too, is a very important deadline of March 1st. So those of you who do manage your parents' financial matters or seniors who are still very independent, I want to remind you of the March 1st deadline to renew or apply for your enhanced STAR applications. We have approximately 1,000 that are still outstanding, and in order to get those done by March 1st is quite a task. So if you know of seniors who are used to filing under this program, if you could give them a nudge or bring them to Town Hall, it's really important, because once the March 1st deadline passes, we cannot do anything. The City of Rochester has a February 1st deadline. Fortunately for us in the towns, it is March 1st. So we will be, in my column, we'll probably have a blurb on ICAT. Just keep reminding the seniors to get those applications in, and maybe Mrs. Quinlan also can put a little note in the post so that we're hitting all of the media. Okay? With that, I thank you for that update. And we do have a public hearing tonight. And one of the things that I did want to mention in terms of that public hearing, that going back to our December 20th board meeting, we did adopt a resolution calling for a public hearing on the matter of the abandonment of Union Park, and that public hearing will take place at 7:35. And at that time, the Director of Community Development explained that this part of the I-Square project and engineer architect Bob Kiefer will deliver plans later that week because Union Park will not be abandoned until other roads are functioning. So I am assuming that what up here are those renditions? Is that correct?
Yes,
Okay, because we haven't seen those yet. All right. And also at that meeting, and those, I'm taking this from the minutes that we are going to be approving shortly. Also at that meeting that we had adopt a resolution accepting the public improvements and mixed use associated with the I-Square project to allow the construction of 94,600 square feet of buildings. And that was increasing that gross floor area from 56,000 to 94,600 square feet based on the incentives proposed and recommended. So those are some things that we will be considering tonight. They were discussed at that board meeting, and those are in the minutes that will be approved tonight. So, and someone will have to keep reminding me as we get close to 7:35. At this time, we will have public input, and the first person that I have is Aaron Quintero.
Good evening. My name is Erin, and I'm a lifelong resident of Irondequoit, having grown up here, settled here to raise my own family, and even chosen to work here as well. Tonight I've come to address you, the members of the town board, citizens in attendance, and those watching via digital media, about the proposed I-Square project. My hope is that the members of the planning board will hear my message as well. If you were to drive around Irondequoit, from Culver Parkway to Lakeshore Boulevard, from the Genesee River to the Irondequoit Bay, you might notice an alarming pattern. Few people. Aside from a handful of avid joggers and some activity around our schools, you would struggle to find signs of a vibrant, united community. Few places in our town offer a gathering place to connect with one another, to conduct commerce, to enjoy a fine meal, to seek recreation. Instead, you might witness us flocking to neighboring towns to socialize, to shop, to dine, to play. Sure, some of us peek our heads out for the Memorial Day parade, the fireworks on the 4th, a gazebo concert, or the farmer's market, but realistically those opportunities are too few and far, and often appeal to only small segments of our population. For the most part, we retreat into our neighborhoods and live relatively isolated lives. Now, what if someone with a healthy vision and generous coffers stepped forward to change all of this, to reinvigorate a town that craves change? An individual who asked in return very little support. Mike Nolan is that man. And if you have checked his following on Facebook, you've seen that the citizens of Irondequoit, 2,179 and still growing, are behind him. These citizens include a cross-section of our demographics unlike we've seen for any other recent project. We're tired of stopping at the corner of Cooper and Titus to stare at a rundown, underutilized, outdated, ugly row. When Mike and his wife Wendy offered their vision, we collectively celebrated and crossed our fingers. For last night's planning board meeting, I had expected largely a rubber stamp of approval. But instead, I watched as the board raised hesitation after roadblock after minutia. I understand that the board serves a vital function and that we have firmly planted procedures to follow. At best, last night's meeting was business as usual, dotting the I's and lighting the flagpoles. But business as usual hasn't gotten us very far in at least the last 40 years that I've been watching. Business as usual has not produced a town with beauty or function. Business as usual has not provided the lifestyle that we, the townspeople, deserve. The business as usual last night has jeopardized a project that we hold dear. It's time for some flexibility, creativity, and accommodation. It's time for all of our elected leaders to champion a worthy cause, pave the way for progress, and listen to the collective voice of the town. It's time for new business.
Thank you very much. Ron Rigby.
Ron Rigby, 38 Glen Hollow. Good evening, Madam Supervisor, honorable board members. Lower Hoffman Road and the Legacy Project on Titus Avenue. I took a trip to Lower Hoffman Road to see what damage had been done as a result of the Willow Creek water runoff. This picture, which I took a couple of weeks ago, shows what appears to be a cesspool. Actually, this is what you see on the south side of Hoffman Road, just past Conifer Lane. Our town planners and engineers claim there is no problem in this area since hundreds of thousands of dollars has been spent to elevate the road, keeping it high and dry. Now we have a plan at 1788 Titus Avenue and 105 Willow Creek Lane that will send more water into the area, which town professionals say will solve the cesspool problem. Over 3 million additional gallons of water would be added to the stormwater runoff. Can the town really afford to risk ruining 2 neighborhoods for the sake of approving a developer's project that, number 1, should never have been accepted in the first place, 2, does not meet the buildable acreage for that size facility, 3, that would be the size of 3 town halls, and 4, is not in accordance with the town's master plan, which calls for single-family homes. Once you change the zoning on the land, there is no going back. Surely the board would not change the zoning without knowing the extent of the project. Please inform the developer that the board will not be changing the zoning since the project does not comply with any zoning code or master plan. Invite him to submit a full site plan for review to the planning board and the public so that an honest assessment may be made for what is really being proposed. Thank you.
Thank you. Teresa Bastuk.
Good evening. Therese Corrigan-Bastick, 125 Eastman Estates. Happy New Year, Madam Supervisor and Town Council members. Tonight I am submitting additional signatures and comments opposing the 3-story, it's now 102 apartment complex. It went up at the public hearing that the developer had the planning board last month at 1788 Titus Avenue. So I'd like to respectfully submit these for the record. Thank you.
Richard Barone.
Richard Barone, 154 Allwood Drive. My comments as follows are based upon having the honor of serving for about 10 years on the planning board as its chairman. It's important the chairman of the planning board not show favoritism towards the applicant before hearing all the evidence, testimony, and so forth. It's important the chairman allows for the greatest participation by the board members of the planning board in gathering of information and in the decisions. It's also important that the chairman of the planning board does not make decisions without collaboration with the board members. I wasn't going to speak on this matter that you have on the agenda tonight, the appointment or reappointment of the chairman of the planning board. But last night's planning board meeting motivated me because it is not the type of meeting that would have happened when I was chairman. The applicant, Mr. Nolan, was really not treated fairly by this town. He should have been told a long time ago what the requirements were that the planning board members or the chairman brought up last night. And it was the chairman last night who pretty much indicated the requirements. He should have been told that previously. He wasn't. Unfortunately, you don't have a senior planner in this town. You have nobody in this town that has the experience or certification in planning and zoning. In view of that, and also the written statement I gave to this board and also to the planning board, and in view of those 2 documents I given to this board, I ask that you do not reappoint the current chairman to the planning board. There are other individuals on that board. I think there are 2 attorneys. I think there's a former councilman on that board who appear to have credentials on being able to fairly hold public hearings. The chairman keeps talking about the discussion from the public as public input. It is not public input. It's a public hearing. Public input is not the same type of legal hearing that a public hearing is. So there's one mistake right there that's made by the chairman. It's not public input like public input is today here. At least you should delay it, look at the credentials of the other people on the board, and reconsider the reappointment of the chairman of the planning board. Thank you.
Michael Valenti.
Hi, Mike Valenti, 474 Thomas Avenue. First of all, I want to congratulate you, Madam Supervisor Stephanie Aldersey and John Perticone on your successful re-election. I know that is sometimes a very thankless job. Therefore, I want to personally thank the board for truly caring about our town and doing an excellent job on behalf of the residents of the town of Irondequoit. I would also like to thank Mr. and Mrs. Nolan for the Town Square project, which will be a wonderful and much-needed addition to our town. Thank you very much.
Armand, did you want to speak now or during the public hearing?
Pardon?
Did you want to speak now or during the public hearing?
It's up to my attorney.
Okay.
No, we'll speak later to the Union Place.
Okay. All righty. Thank you. Ann Burns?
I'll also speak during the public hearing.
Thank you very much. And with that, we may move on to the agenda for about 6 minutes. So Annie, with the financial report?
That's 6 minutes. I'll make it work. Regarding the 2011 year-end performance results, you will note that this report states tentative before closing 2011 as of 12/31/2011. In addition to this report, I will provide 2 more monthly updates for 2011 year-end results. They will be the 2011 tentative before closing reports as of 1/31/2012 and as of 2/29/2012. Those 2011 updates will be presented along with the respective 2012 monthly report. The town's 2011 books will remain open for several months for outstanding revenue, bills for services and goods received for 2011, and required closing entries and adjustments. The updates will allow us to understand how the finances are shaping up as we progress through the year-end closing. During the second quarter, the town's auditing firm, Freed Maxick CPAs, PC, will perform the annual audit and generate the 2011 financial statements. After completing those processes, a presentation of the town's financial condition will be made to the town board at a mid-year workshop meeting. Highlights of the town's financial status or the town's financial condition will be shared with the public at a subsequent town board meeting. Here is my report of the financial results for the town as they appear at the end of December 2011. Total expenditures and encumbrances for the town are $27,357,730, equaling 88.4% of the budget. The expenditures are $26,811,299, and the encumbrances are another $546,431. The year-to-date percentage of 88.4 compares favorably to the annual budget.
The general fund remains favorable with expenditures and encumbrances at 86% of budget, or $15,216,343. The highway funds collectively are at 99.6% of budget, only slightly below budget. Even though there were early in the year salt purchases and other increased seasonal costs, such as paving labor and asphalt purchases, the current 2011 costs of the highway are within budget. The current year-to-date expenditures and encumbrances for the highway are $5,665,929, which is $24,000 below budget. We do, however, expect some additional expenses which will likely cause a slight highway overrun. As you will see on the second page of this report, the current actual 2011 revenue for the highway is $348,174 above budget at $6,038,297. As of now, the highway has outstanding revenue, so that amount is expected to increase. The library, sewer, and drainage funds are each considerably below budget. They are 89.7%, 83.7%, and 73.3% of budget, respectively. The revenue for the general fund is $16,155,280, which equates to 91.8% of budget. The 2011 revenue received thus far exceeds the $15.2 million of current expenses for the fund. The revenue from taxes, pilot revenue, payment in lieu of taxes, state aid, and interest earnings are all in. We have yet to receive 4 months of sales tax, 3 months of mortgage tax, and approximately 40% of the Time Warner franchise cable fees. So we are expecting to receive substantially more revenue in 2011, for 2011. Revenues in all other funds round to at least 100%. Again, they are 100% or greater for the other funds. For the total town, revenue received is 96.9% of budget. This concludes my report.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Any questions?
A comment. Madam Supervisor, Madam Controller, and department heads, what a great job you've done this past year. Thank you so much.
That's right. And we anticipate to keep it up.
Approval of minutes.
Yes.
December 14th, 2011, the workshop meeting.
Moved.
And a second? Second. Any discussion of additions or corrections? All right, hearing none, let us vote to approve as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
December 20th, 2011, the regular town board meeting.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion, corrections, additions?
No, ma'am.
Hearing none, let us vote. All those in favor of accepting as presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
January 2nd, 2012, the organizational meeting.
So moved.
And a second.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, hearing none, let's accept as approved. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. And one of the things that I did want to comment on, we had approved the schedule for the workshop and board meetings for the rest of the year. And our February
town board meeting is when I will be in New York City for the Association of Towns. So I was hoping that maybe we could move that meeting to Thursday, the 23rd, rather than February 21st. So if you could check your calendars, and then we will post accordingly.
Still at 7 p.m.?
At 7 o'clock? Okay, so look for that to be publicized for sure, because I will still be at the Association of Towns. Okay? All right, thank you very much.
7:35.
And it appears to be 7:35. Let me just get to that page now. All right. I would like to have a motion, please, to open the public hearing in the matter of the abandonment of Union Park.
Moved.
Second.
Second, thank you. And we'll go to my sheet and ask the first speaker, Armand.
Do you
And
want
are
a
you-
presentation first? No presentation first?
Oh, was there a presentation?
Didn't you have one, Larry?
I'm a little bit confused because I
I'll-
haven't seen anything yet.
I'll just say for the people in the audience and those watching on television, there are two boards up at the front left of the room. The one closest to us shows the survey plat with the green is the existing right-of-way of Union Park, and the pink is the proposed right-of-way of the relocated street, approximately 85 feet to the east. The second board, closer to the town board podium, is the same thing, showing that overlay on the site plan. And I recommend the board keep the public hearing open until their February meeting. For those people, the typical board process is to call for the public hearing 1 month, which was December, hold the public hearing in January tonight, and then the board action is the following month.
Were we given copies of these?
Yes?
Yes.
You have small 11 by 17 copies of the pink and green.
I don't seem to have them. Okay.
Oh, you do now.
Okay, thank you.
When did you receive these, Larry?
Today, this afternoon.
We got them out.
How come I didn't get one?
I put it on the podium.
It's right there under your...
Unless someone picked them up by mistake.
I
Okay.
did see it because it had MJ right on the top.
Looks like this.
Okay.
That's it, you have it.
Just take mine.
Excuse me,
It's the same.
are these engineer stamped drawings? Oh, Michael O'Neill is the engineer?
Yes, Mike O'Neill is a licensed land surveyor.
Thank you.
No. Larry, has the county DOT signed off on this yet, or is that too soon?
No, they have not. The engineers are, my understanding is completing the traffic simulation and then the engineering drawings for the reconstruction of the Cooper-Titus intersection. And so we have not received that report or those drawings. And we received county comments last week, I believe Thursday, from Monroe County Planning that included the coordinated review of DOT. And that was one of the things that they requested in their 4 pages of comments. So we anticipate that, I spoke with the engineers today, we anticipate that we'll probably be receiving that over the next 1 to 2 weeks. We also discussed the drainage report that we've not seen the final on yet either. So there's those 2 reports that they're working on, and then the plans would be updated in accordance with the design reports, if you will. Okay, what you have that we received this afternoon is a survey map on 11 by, a NAF by 11 with a blue survey seal that is the meets and bounds of the proposed abandonment of Union Place. And then the other is an 11 by 17 drawing also from O'Neill Rodak surveyors that shows the pink and the green. And my department prepared the 2 boards in the front of the room to make it easier for people in the room to understand what the proposal was.
The abandonment of Union Park and the whatever we call comes from Cooper Road, storm drainage, sewers, are any of those things affected by this at this point?
Yes, and we could, there's been several names proposed, but you could continue calling it Union Park because that's the name of the street and that's what 911 knows it as. But when that road moves, there is a sanitary sewer in the existing road. There will be a new sanitary sewer down the middle of the new road, starting at the deepest utility. The next most complicated utility is the storm sewers because they have to run by gravity. And we got a preliminary layout. We reviewed that in DPW, as I said last night at the planning board meeting. Compared those drawings to the county record drawings as well as our record drawings, made edits, sent that back to the engineers, and they're revising their plans and also doing the storm drainage design. The next utility is the water main. Water main is a little bit easier because it flows under pressure, so if you need to dive under a gravity pipe like a sanitary or storm, you can do it. And there's been only one comment on that, is just to loop the water main to Stranahan, which is really part of fire protection, that the hydrant at mid-block would not be usable in the event of a fire, that the sprinklers were activated in one of the buildings. So that comes from our department and specifically the fire marshal. Other than that, we have the site plan, which gets into the sidewalks, width of sidewalks, whether they're permeable pavements, the amount of green space, trees, planters, things like that. So the real nuts and bolts right now are the traffic and the geometrics of the road, which is really a county DOT lead, and then the storm drainage, which this is a tributary to Ontario 0-114, which is a Class B protected stream and flows down into the Durand Eastman area. So even though we are an urban area, staying in an urban area, we do need to have documentation of how much water is currently going to the northeast and how much is going down Hudson to the west, for the developer's protection, the town's protection, and the design professional's protection. As far as the abandonment of the street, the way the site, in order for the site plan to work, there needs to be this shifting of the road. And I think that everyone will agree that based on the Cooper-Hudson-Titus master plan, the four-way intersection of Cooper-Titus will be a lot more efficient than what is currently existing. No one has disagreed with that at all.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of making it happen and following the legal process.
And whatever it should be called, currently Cooper Road Extension is considerably wider than Union Park, according to this?
Yes, Union Park, the existing right-of-way on O'Neill's map is 35.90 feet, which is a very odd width, but that's not surprising. The new road would have a a width of 60 feet, which is standard.
Okay.
And the new road would be 1 lane north, 1 lane south with parallel parking on both sides.
Oh, good.
How many cars would the parallel parking provide for?
I don't have the exact, I believe there's approximately 16 spaces running up and down the road, about 8 per side, in that order of magnitude.
Okay, thank you.
Then I presume in the discussions that the increased size of Cooper Road extension and that amount of asphalt needs to be taken into consideration for stormwater drainage, so that there is the landscaping to accommodate it along that way?
The simple answer is yes. Some of the surfaces are called out to be pervious pavement, similar to the parking lots we have down in Seabreeze. And the ground there, or the soil type, is Colony Sandy Loam, which is basically a beach, which a lot of Arundequoit is. So the water will go down at about 1 inch every 7 minutes. But that's part of the drainage study, is that currently you have roofs, parking lot, and something else, whether you can call it lawn or you just call it dirt. And that has certain runoff characteristics. The new proposal will have a certain amount of roofs and a certain amount of parking lot, and then a green or pervious pavement. And you need to compare those elements with what is there today and what is proposed, so that the storm sewers in Titus, which is where this water will go, are not inundated or surcharged, is a technical engineering term, and water is backing up into somebody's basement. And that again is what the engineering report that I've been discussing with Bob Kiefer needs to document, so that we don't. Pardon me?
We don't have that
No,
yet?
we do not. We have a conceptual report that indicates the order of magnitude of runoff of the urban condition, but not the specifics with the pipe network.
What's the timeline for that?
I expect that I would have that report probably 10 days from now.
Oh, okay.
10 days to 2 weeks.
Good.
Any other comments before we call on people? All right.
Second.
Members of the board, excuse me. My name is Frank Sidoti. I'm an attorney, and I represent the House of Guitars.
For the record, would you mind spelling your last name?
Sidoti.
Thank you.
First off, let me say that the House of Guitars is not opposed to the I-Square project. However, always a however, we are opposed to closing Union Park the way the plans are presently constituted. As a matter of fact, I have some question as to whether or not the town can abandon Union Park. It's a dedicated road, and what I see in the highway law doesn't give you the right to close a highway, a dedicated highway, unless you have consent of all of the neighbors. Now, you can always condemn it, and along with all the resultant damages, but I don't think anybody wants to go in that direction. But I don't know that you have authority to abandon that dedicated road and turn it over to a private developer to develop. I realize he's going to build a new Cooper Road extension, but I don't think there's any authority to abandon a road for that purpose. Now, the main reason we're against this abandonment is that it's a valuable property right to have access to a public highway. The House of Guitars has access to Union Park. We take many deliveries through there. It's our parking, and we need access to a dedicated road. If the town can provide, in its approval of these plans, that we have direct access from the new Cooper Road extension to our property line, we have no problem. So far, that hasn't been done. We've been asking for it. It doesn't show on any maps. We have been cut off completely from the dedicated roads. As a matter of fact, fire trucks are cut off from our building under this plan. Now, there have been suggestions that there be a parking lot constructed between our building and the dedicated road that's part of the I-Square project, but that's not our parking lot. We would be beholden to the owner of that property. We would have to try to work out an easement. You have attorneys here. All of us know how difficult it is with easements and property rights and the arguments that ensue. And we don't want to give up our property rights. We want our access to dedicated highways. We feel we have that right, and there's nothing that's come up that shows that we should lose that right. We've had some discussions with Mr. Nolan, and he's agreeable, or has been agreeable, to give us a dedicated road to our property. But I haven't seen it on the maps. It's not on these maps. So if we can sit down and work that out, and you can give us that dedicated access, and I keep calling it dedicated because there are requirements on the size of a road when it's dedicated to the town, and you'd have to meet those requirements. If you can give us those assurances, then we don't have any objection to abandoning Union Park. But until we have those assurances, and this board and the planning board approves that new road between Cooper Road Extension and our property line, we are unalterably opposed to closing Union Park. And if you have any questions on any of this, I'd be happy to answer them for you. The highway law has a procedure for abandoning roads, and I don't think we've come close to meeting that procedure and up to this point. And as I say, if there's the consent of all the neighbors to give up their rights to a dedicated road, that's fine. But so far we haven't.
Frank, do you have that section available of the highway law?
It's, trying to think of what it was, 700, 701, talks about the size of it, and that the cases under that say that dedicated roads are a public trust. Towns cannot just abandon those things that have been entrusted to them. A lot of cases on that.
Mr. Sidoti, I'm trying to get a handle on this map that I haven't seen before, and I want to thank our staff in the town hall for preparing these for us tonight. Would the access look like a turnoff from the proposed Cooper Road extension into the back parking lot of the House of Guitars?
Pretty much that, yeah.
Okay.
I looked at
Right.
School of Music.
Okay.
We call it
Gotcha.
the back. The
Okay.
back parking lot is the other one. It's
Yeah.
the School of Music parking lot.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm not an engineer. I just fiddled around with it myself a little. And you could put a 49-foot road, three-rod road, if that's the minimum required. The town engineer seems to think that there may be room for a 33-foot road in the highway law. I don't find that. I just find the three-rod road as being required for a dedicated road. But there is room. Fire trucks would need to use it. If there were a fire back there at the School of Music, they'd come in the Cooper Road extension and they have to get back into our existing parking lot. So if you ran a dedicated road between the extension and our north property line where our existing parking lot is, it would give us direct access to our parking, and also it would provide the fire and police access that you would need to the building. It's very doable.
Okay. We're having trouble reading the maps, so I think we're going to have to come up afterwards and after the hearing and take a look at these at some point.
Fine. As I say,
Now, this isn't what we're looking at, it's not a plat map, is it, showing the subdivisions, is it? I'm a little bit confused.
I really haven't seen detailed maps of this since I got involved in it. I've been working off what are almost artist renderings.
Okay.
And
So we're assuming House of Guitars is in this area, next to Grange Place.
Mosey Reality is the House of Guitars property. I don't know why it
Through here,
says
right?
that, but
yes, this
Here's
Union
Titus.
Place, yes. So this is our parking lot,
Okay, and then,
and you could run a dedicated road from here up the new Cooper Road extension to our parking lot, and it would provide direct access.
Larry, anybody, can they answer me the question, has there been any kind of sketches of this road, access road, or is it just a thought right now? I mean, has anybody brought anything forward?
It's a thought.
Okay.
2 weeks ago, 10 days ago, there was the idea floated that if the parking lot in the middle of this was municipally owned, then that gave the House Guitars, right now the House Guitars has access to a town-dedicated road. And if this was then a municipal lot, then they would be still dealing with the town of Arundecoit. Then the other suggestion that just came up last night at that public hearing was whether or not a stub road or a T or part of this parking lot could be a dedicated right-of-way, so that, again, the House Guitars was always dealing with the municipality, not with an individual person errors and assigns, because 20 or 30 years down the road, the town will still be here. You don't know who's going to own the parking lot. So there is no drawing.
But when it becomes a dedicated road, whose responsibility is it going to be?
It would be the town of Arundecoit's responsibility.
Whatever size it is, because we don't know what it's going to be.
Right.
Okay.
okay, would you like to sit down for a few minutes
Sure.
and we'll call on Mr. Nolan?
Sure. There may be other ways to get access to our parking lot in our building that I didn't think of, and someone who's an engineer might be able to do it better than...
Well, you're looking at the novices up here. We're just here trying to, so,
Okay.
okay. Mr. Nolan?
Good evening, Board. Mike Nolan, 350 Kings Highway North. I am not going to go through the full presentation I have for you for a few more minutes, because there are some other considerations before you make the decision to dedicate this road or to abandon this road. but I did want to weigh in on the House of Guitars position, and I am in favor of creating a double parking lot, one that is municipal and then immediately adjoining the House of Guitars. That was the best plan that our engineering dream team of engineers came up with, that yields the most parking and does it. That was approached with this town to supervisor and was, at the advice of the attorney sitting before us, was denied. I think that's a bad decision on the towns. I think that should be a municipal parking lot, and I think it should be dedicated from I Square to the town of Arundequoit. I will take care of the maintenance of it. I just think it should be dedicated to the town to preserve their rights and be neighborly. I have no purpose in owning that parking lot. Certainly gladly take care of it as far as plowing and servicing.
Mike, you need to understand from the town's perspective, for us to make any kind of commitment for that without having full site plan approval and so forth, that's just something we can't even engage in.
Well, I'm a little confused. Is this just a denial or a postponement till we get further engineering?
This is just a public hearing and trying to...
We're just listening.
Yeah, no, but I mean, as far as, I'm confused. We didn't deny anything.
I had made the request to the supervisor to consider the accepting dedication of that parking lot, and the return I got from Mr. Henninger was no, the town would not consider that. So I'm not sure if that's a denial, if I should represent that as a denial or not, but that's the way I took it.
Well, first off, Mr. Heininger even discussing it without it being through board action and resolution is something we cannot even consider.
Okay.
Legally.
Oh, okay.
So we just maybe have to get our ducks in a row.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
So I would like the board to consider accepting the dedication of the parking lot next to the House of Guitars, like they would like to keep them access to a public right-of-way and preserve their rights. So I feel it's the right thing to do, and I feel that, contrary possibly to the advice of your attorney, that the board consider taking that action tonight. Thank you.
There's no, not with that.
Yeah, the process. Sure. Yeah. I'm all for the process, right? We got to get however the process works is where we need to go.
But we obviously need...
I haven't been under an advice of any attorney, just to let you know. We haven't even had a conversation about this.
Well, it's because it has to go to the board.
Yeah, I don't think there's been any presentation to us, Mr. Nolan, just so you know, this is the first time hearing of it.
Yeah.
So one of the other things Mr. Sidoti had said was he had spoken to you regarding you giving them an easement as well, which the town wouldn't do, and I don't know your position on that, and I know speed is important. So I'm just saying, we haven't addressed any of this public parking. This is the first time hearing of it.
Me too.
And I'm just saying,
Maybe let's start over then, if we can, Paul. I agree.
Sure. Sure.
Their concern is that they take deliveries and a lot of activity through their side lot. That's probably their busiest area of parking for the House of Guitars. It's their school music entrance where they take deliveries. They have small trucks that pull in and out of there. So when they brought that concern up to us initially with just conversation with Bruce and Armand and myself, at different times they had reservations the way we were building. We approached our design team and said we need to find a way to accommodate them. They take deliveries in through their side entrance, so on and so forth, and we found that the best overall plan yields the most parking spots for the area, provides them the access they need, was to adjoin our parking lots, and we thought it would be acceptable for them to accept a cross-access easement, something that we couldn't take back. Subsequently, they were not agreeable to just having it as an easement and said we would like it to be directly on a public right-of-way. Mr. Sidoti explained to me personally what the reasons behind that were, that the rights and the protection of their rights under that, and I said, well, fine, what do you think? He said, well, possibly dedicate it to the town. I said, sure, it's a parking lot. I don't have any big deal to own a parking lot as long as my customers, my tenants can use it. Let's dedicate it, and we would like the town to consider And all of this is part of abandonment of the road, accepting dedication of Cooper Road extension, which will be called Baker Street from now on. And accepting dedication of Baker Street, accepting dedication of a municipal parking lot that will hold 40-some parking cars immediately adjacent to the House of Guitars, and hopefully, subject to their approval, of course, and their acceptance of that. Is that clear?
More clear, yeah.
So there's no drawing of it, though?
No, we don't have Yeah, no drawing about it yet. That's still to come, I'm assuming. Official drawings and engineer approval, and I'm assuming, yes, Mike?
It's drawn that way today. The plans you're looking at show exactly what I just described.
Is the municipal parking there? I don't have it on mine.
We don't have
Maybe it's just got tagged as municipal. Let's see, this is Cooper Road. No, this is a survey type map. You need to...
Here's your engineer's one right there. Yeah, we don't have it. Yeah.
Want to walk over to that?
Oh, we can look at it afterwards. We won't need to take your time. I know, just for the record, too, I can say every one of us is very excited about this project, and I hope there's not just a misunderstanding going on here. I know the process needs to go forward in a regular, legal manner, and we'll be looking forward to that. Do you have that with your engineer seal on it, with the dedicated that you can get to us?
I think it's the same one we submitted all the sets to the planning board and so forth. We submitted, I don't know how many sets of these copies to the town this week.
Okay.
It shows it all on there.
Sure, and they've got the engineer seal on them, right?
I think so.
Good.
I got a million questions with municipal parking.
Yeah.
This is, sorry, I don't know what I did this month. This is the building of the House of Guitars right here.
Okay.
This is their parking lot and their current boundaries of their property here and their current parking lot. When we talked about their concerns, we built our parking lot directly out to Cooper Road Extension, as we called it. This is, go back through this again, this is the House of Guitars building. The School of Music entrance is right here, and their current property line boundaries. This is the current right-of-way coming out here, immediately adjoining their current parking lot. So if this became parking here, then by adjoining the two, we open up, we get the biggest mass of parking. It's done what they call double-loaded parking. If the concern I have with the approach that Frank had was to add a third run in here, you take out essentially one-fourth of the parking.
I'm just afraid that we're having kind of a private meeting. The public can't hear. You want to talk in the microphone?
Okay.
Is there a place for the deliveries as well, or do they lose that on that drawing? The House of Guitar, for a place to deliver, it looks like there's parking spaces.
Exactly the same entrance and exit as they currently play.
Madam Supervisor, I'm concerned that the public isn't seeing this presentation.
Thank you.
The plan, see where it provides for us, and whether we have the access we need. As you can see, my main concern is not to be beholden to anyone for our right and access to our building. And that's why the dedicated road was a simple solution. And if there's room to do it, you can probably pick up the parking spaces that are lost with some other configuration of the property, because we're really talking about parking, and we're losing sight of what the problem is, and the problem is abandoning Union Park. So what satisfies us and is the best for us is a dedicated highway fronting onto our parking lot. And then we reconfigure the parking. We're going to have to sit down and look at it and see how you can do it. And as I say, there may be, he has come before the board and gotten authorization for his parking, and the board, if he did turn up with a couple of spaces short because of this configuration, I'm sure that he would have a real good argument before the planning board to modify the parking requirements that he has. If he gives up 3 or 4 parking spaces to make this whole thing work and satisfy us and give you a legal right to abandon Union Park, because that's an issue, that whether or not you can do it. I honestly believe that. And if we can do all of that by losing a couple of parking lots, or parking spaces, I don't think Mr. Nolan minds, and we can work it out with him. So that's pretty much our position.
Madam Supervisor, I'm now confused as to what this hearing is about.
Just abandon Union Park, that's all it is.
This hearing is so that...
Solely on the abandonment of Union Park?
Solely on
Okay.
the abandonment of Union Park, and then eventually that street will be moved. But we do have many legal questions that have to be answered in terms of the responsibilities of municipalities with roads, parking lot, commercial developments, and so forth. Are there any others here to speak about the abandonment of Union Park?
May I say one last quick word about that? Generally speaking, when a road is abandoned and it meets all the requirements, ownership of that road reverts to the property owners on both sides. That would mean the House of Guitars would own a good portion of that road that's abandoned. Now, if that goes to the House of Guitars, this whole thing is not going to work too well. We're not asking for that. We've never asked for it. We've agreed that if it's abandoned, Mr. Nolan can have it all. So let's keep that in mind, too, that to abandon that road, I think you need our consent.
Okay. And I think people need to understand by Mr. Nolan having that property, he's able to fulfill many of the requirements he wants in his development. So for him, for the House Guitars, they have to have that access somewhere.
It seems to me that both parties are certainly willing to work out an agreement, which is nice. So let's just work with the engineers and the planning department, and it seems to me this shouldn't be that difficult to work out since both parties are willing.
Mr. Barone.
Richard Barone, 154 Allwood Drive. Some years ago, when I was sitting where you people sat, I voted many times to abandon property the town had that was unusable, basically. I vaguely remember one piece of property that was part of a road, but it was the end of a road. It might have been in the Huntington Hills area, and it went no place. Unfortunately, this road you're looking at is accessed at 2 points. It's a thoroughfare, really. So you got a major problem, perhaps. And if I were you, I would not do anything unless you had chapter and verse of the law authorizing you to do it in writing. The other issue is the highway superintendent. I think you need, if you don't have it already, you need to have, because he has the responsibility for the highways under state law. He's a state officer, actually. Not many people know that, because in the past, the commissioner of public works in this town also carries the title of superintendent of highways. But he's a state officer, and I strongly urge you that if you are going to abandon this road, you need something in writing from him as to that abandonment, but you also need something from him in writing on the question of if you dedicate the revised roadway to the House of Guitars. You need his input as to how are they going to plow that, how are they going to maintain it. So those are issues I think he needs to go on record for this project. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Ann Burns, and I live at 199 Bellhurst Drive, and I'm here this evening to speak on behalf of the HIP organization. Contingent on an acceptable HOG I-Square cross-access agreement, we support the abandonment of Union Park for use in the I-Square development. We believe the I-Square proposal more than satisfies the objectives and the desired features of the Cooper Road extension as they were defined in the community-generated and 2003 adopted Titus Cooper Hudson Master Plan. And to quote from that master plan, one of the central features of this design plan is the creation of a direct and aligned connection between Cooper Road and Stranahan Park by extending Cooper Road south through the intersection with Titus Avenue. The property and development potential consumed by this new road is replaced by the removal of Union Park. This four corners concept provides improved opportunities for redevelopment, particularly at the two southern corners of the new four-way intersection. The text of the master plan goes on to describe how the Cooper Extension Road edges could be developed as additional pedestrian space in support not only of new developments, but also as enhancements to the existing structures and the businesses that currently border the west side of Union Park. We believe the I-Square proposal more than delivers on this potential with significantly improved density, true mixed-use development, a much safer pedestrian crosswalk configuration at Titus and Cooper with the removal of the dual signal at Union Park, and extensive public amenities on all public right-of-ways and the street frontages. In addition to satisfying the site plan and the development trade objectives defined in the adopted master plan, the I-Square proposal will also deliver a brand-new, well-drained, curbed and landscaped road with sidewalks and streetlights to our town in place of the current Union Park, which has none of these features. Obviously, the value of the new Cooper Extension Baker Street Road will far exceed the value of the current Union Park Road. So we believe that our town will gain a financial benefit with this trade as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We know this project is just phenomenal, and we certainly look forward to when it's done, and it's certainly going to be a diamond in the town. Is there anyone else that would like to speak about the abandonment of Union Park?
Mike Nolan again, 350 Kings Highway North. Good evening again. Regarding the abandonment of Union Park, a couple of things. Based on last night's planning board meeting, may not get that far. Very, very frustrated with the evening we had last night. And I placed the entire project on hold after the meeting last night. Discouraged, just placed it on hold, meaning stopping. We stopped our architecture plans and stopped our engineering, stopped our demolition plans until we're able to reach a clear understanding with the town as far as the I-Square project and how we relate I-Square in the town and how we all get along. I got to make it very clear. I want more than anything in the world to build I-Square. I believe that Wendy and I have the capability, the foresight, the willingness to accept input right up until the point that input is overly imposed on you, and then it's stops being fun. So, very important. More importantly, I want to make I Square a showpiece for the town of Arundecoit. I am, as you all know, I'm a very proud resident of the town, and very, very seldom will I complain about the service I receive from the town or involvement. But tonight I am going to complain. First, explain myself. I have a few key faults, personality defects, if you will. One is my lack of patience. I have very little. And unfortunately, for everyone probably involved, that's something you all will have to deal with in order to get I Square built. I'm not going to have a lot of patience with process. I'm not going to have a lot of patience with bureaucracy or local government slowing down the process of I Square being built. This is not a complaint about any particular person, not on the planning board, not on the town board, or not in employment of the town. It's just, it's not moving the way it should. It's not being addressed. It's not being endorsed and supported the way it's all being spoke about. It's being spoke like it's very well endorsed and very done, but when where the rubber meets the road, it's not being embraced by the town in the way that I feel it should. Last night was my 5th meeting with the planning board to discuss I Square. The first one was pretty basic. Started out with our concept drawing and sat down with them. They basically said, well, we really can't have much conversation with the concept drawing. Go back and get this. And we went back and got that and went to their next workshop, and they said, okay, well, this is what you got to do. Go to the next planning board meeting, put on a polished presentation to us about I Square, come up and tell us all about the great things of it, and we'll proceed with this process. Went to that meeting, did my best presentation. Public speaking is not something I even enjoy doing whatsoever, but I did. This is an important project, and I'll do just about anything to make it happen. All this time we're seeking preliminary approval for our site plan. Preliminary approval for our site plan. It sounds really simple. Yeah, it shouldn't be like this. That meeting, the November meeting did go pretty well. I think it was pretty well received. January workshop we went to with the planning board, discussed. We had received 6 or 7 pieces of feedback, concerns, if you will. 2 or 3 of them were actually within the boundaries of what the planning board should be concerned with as far as a accept or approve a plan type considerations, but they laid all 7 out there like they were important to address in order for me to gain approval. We went through, we considered all 7 items and elected to do 5 of the changes that they proposed. A little bit reluctantly even on a couple of them, because honestly I don't want those 7 guys designing I Square. It's not their position. I trust my wife and my team's judgment more than anybody else in the world. They're the ones that are going to design and plan I Square, and or it doesn't get built. And so last night's meeting, we really walked through that meeting. We really thought that it was going through the motions to gain approval, not only to gain preliminary approval after our 5th meeting with them, but to gain a final site plan approval so we can really move ahead with the project. To date, we have $40,000 worth of paper in those 2 packets my wife's holding. Those were all prepared for the benefit of the town planning board. About 1/3 of them will actually be used during construction. The rest of it will sit in your files. They continued last night to add on additional things that weren't brought up at the workshop, and put new requirements on me to get an approval, and then in the same breath said, but we'll hold a special meeting, we'll do whatever it takes, just do these things. Out of those 7 things mentioned, only 2 or maybe 3 would fall within the scope of something that should be based an approval on. Those 2 or 3 items, some of what, one of the 3 which was in their hand, they did have, but it was very late submittal on our part, and I apologize for that, but still could have been done if the effort had been made. plat maps we didn't have. The plat maps we showed the division of the properties being on each side of east and west. It missed 4 dotted lines. So that was the key element that was missing, why we could not receive approval last night. A detailed site plan of our building 1, again brought up the opportunity to landscape, and they're talking to me about what kind of planting. There's some flowers all around my building, and didn't sit all that well. They continued to go through the other legitimate concern was the access for the House of Guitars. And as I've agreed, I've always had a understanding that we won't take that and we won't build this until we have some form that everybody is happy with. And Mr. Sidoti has been instrumental in trying to bring that to the table and get us all on the same page. They mentioned a number of other trivial items that, throughout the meeting last night, but the 2 or 3 legitimate concerns could have easily been noted and been an exception or a condition of their approval last night. So I walked out of last night's meeting. Not only did I not receive my final approval, I did not even receive a preliminary approval. This is 5 meetings, 30 D-size drawing papers, over $40,000 worth of engineering, and they don't want to issue me a preliminary approval to build I-Square based on 3, like I said, 4 dotted lines on one sheet and an environmental assessment form they said they didn't have a chance to review, where we just checked 3 boxes that weren't checked before. It did not require a lot of time or effort on their part. I believe that I-Square is being treated like every other development. That's what was on the news tonight, right? That's like Legacy, like CVS. It's my position with you tonight that it is time for this board here tonight to take a position with I-Square, to join I-Square in this project. We need to change it. It cannot be. I-Square is different. It is not a CVS. It is not a Legacy. It is not a Plaza. It's not going to be a dollar store or anything else. This is your master plan. This is the town of Irondequoit's master plan. I'm the guy, what did they say, $650,000 to build and pave a road so I can give it to you. I build it. I got to put stone out. I had to buy it first. I had to buy the buildings, knock them down, get them out of the way. Stone it, curb it, sidewalks, new sewers. We're doing all the underground work. This is 100% at my expense. I remove the condemned, dilapidated buildings, completely my expense. We're paying for the street lights. Wendy and I are going to be paying for the intersection, the traffic lights at the intersection of Cooper and Titus. Are you kidding me? We're trying really, really hard to give the Irondequoit residents something to be proud of, something to call home, something to have a good vibe about. The town's contribution to date in our project is 0. The town's contribution to our project going forward is 0. In fact, so far to date, I-Square's written the town over $2,000 in checks for permits, application fees, and other engineer reviewing fees. I had to pay your engineer to review my plans. We're going to invest over $15 million into the town of Irondequoit. We're going to give our residents something that they've long deserved, that's a long time coming. It's your guys' opportunity. We've taken a huge risk. The town feels like we're in such a, I call that CYA mode, that we're so afraid to take a risk to step up as a community. But I believe the people behind you, I'll tell you, they want you to. We want you to. We are going to make some requirements to go along with the abandonment of Union Park. No sense in abandoning the road unless I can have the other things that are on my list here involved to go along with it in order to get this process done. It's going to require this board to step out a little bit maybe out of its comfort range, but it may be time for that. We're going to ask you to eliminate the design requirements portion of the planning board responsibilities with regard to the site plan, landscaping, signage, architecture, and public amenities within I-Square. Probably that's a whole lot said.
Are you talking, I'm just confused about that. So you don't want the codes to be, you want to skirt the entire process?
In New York State regulations?
No. You have a
That's what they are.
mixed-use design, commercial area has a code, Town of Arundecoit code, that calls for your review, the planning board specific review on these 4 or 5 items. I'm suggesting to you that we create some form of special district in there so that we do not require their approval for those items. The second item that we are looking for is for somebody to be assigned from the town to facilitate the approval process with us so we can ensure we get an approval at the planning board on our February 13th meeting. And we'd also like your support in potentially accepting from us a fully new paved municipal parking lot within I-Square, joining the House of Guitars, assuming that they will agree with us and with those plans. I'm not asking for money. I've not asked you to reduce my tax liability each year. What is it, $105,000, I believe, I pay in property taxes for this thing, that mess over there. $105,000 a year. I still haven't asked you guys for anything. I'm putting you way outside your comfort zone, finding a way, challenging you to find a way to step up and make this happen for our town residents. I think it's very important.
Thank you very much for your remarks. I should speak only for myself, but I really feel that I have a strong enough sense of this board's view of your project that I can say that we have been nothing but thrilled, excited, delighted with the concept of the project from the word go. And I'm going to beg you to please put up with the bureaucracy that we all have to put up with, because we have to follow state law, county law. We have to. And if we make an exception for you, we have to make an exception for every other businessman in this town. And such exceptions are called variances, and we make a lot of them. But I have not seen a detailed plan. I don't consider what we're looking at to be a detailed plan. And I really strongly look forward to seeing that plan and being able to move forward. So I'm going to beg you to be a little more, yeah. Well, I'd love to have them. And I'm sure we can resolve the problems and move forward. I have no doubt of that. And I'm just going to ask you not to be discouraged and please be more optimistic. I know we can do this together.
In your guys' court, understand that this falls solely on town board.
We can't make it happen just on a town board. We, under penalty of law, are not allowed to influence the planning board.
Make things happen. Make it happen.
Mr. Sidoti.
May I make a suggestion before we all get too excited? We're trying to help Mr. Nolan. Apparently, you're trying to help Mr. Nolan, and I have to believe the planning board is trying to help Mr. Nolan.
Very much so.
100%.
I think we can overcome this Union Park situation, and that'll allow a lot of other things to fall into place. Can we arrange for a meeting between Mr. Nolan, myself, and somebody from the town, maybe Mr. Henninger? Let him know what we need, what he needs, and if the town has to give a little so that we can accommodate a few less parking spaces, this can all fall into place, and we can have a meeting very quickly and keep this thing alive.
Okay. We could have Mr. Heininger in there, but I want you to understand, he was not hired as a town engineer.
But
Okay?
that's fine. I don't care who the
My feeling is that Engineer Robert Kiefer should be involved.
That's fine.
He has been our engineer for our own personal projects. The man knows how to follow through every process. He knows exactly what needs to be done, and that would be my recommendation, that he be included in this, because he knows exactly all of the issues that are faced and how they have to be confronted one by one.
Well, I can make myself available, and I would make that as a suggestion to try to resolve this.
Mike, isn't Mr. Kiefer your engineer that you've been working with? Is he the...
I don't want to pay him to come solve that one. Now I can pay him to come solve that one. No problem.
And have your drawings, have they been approved by, are they, all your drawings are engineer approved? They've got their seal on them and they're all approved?
I think the ones submitted were, they have a format for doing that once they receive feedback and they submit a signed copy around all the...
Okay, Larry, the drawings you have are engineer approved?
I'm going to open a set of drawings that our planning board attorney has. And the drawings Mike was showing you a few minutes ago, none of them have an engineer's seal or a surveyor's seal. We have still reviewed the drawings and provided comments. As Mr. Sidoti said, the biggest issue here is the fact that you've got a dedicated road that serves another landowner, the House of Guitars, and they need to come together. It's not something I can make happen.
Sure, and there sounds like they're willing to.
The
yeah.
technical details of the sanitary sewer, there really are none, but it's part of an overall project, and we can't segregate the seeker review. The same with the water main. And that's where the planning board had an issue, that you can't segregate the seeker and approve bits and pieces. We need it all together. We do need the reports. We do need the response to the Monroe County comments. This is standard that's required of all projects in this town. Every town in the county requires these things. And the board last night said that they would take this up at their workshop coming up in 3 weeks.
Sure, and Mike, you didn't have any problem with that,
in
did
fact,
you?
their engineer, when I talked to them today, said, Larry, if you recall, 2 weeks ago I questioned whether or not we should be having these public hearings because we would not be able to get the plans and reports done. There was too much work. And I said I would rather keep the momentum going on the project and get any issue out in January so it can be confronted and dealt with, because if the issue is not dealt with now, it then comes up in February, and that will impact schedule for starting spring construction. So as painful as last night was, and as painful as tonight was, it's something we all had to get through.
Okay.
Mr. Sidoti, to the extent you need a meeting from the town and you want some involvement, I'd be happy to be a liaison, as well as I'm sure any other board members would attend. If that helps you too, Mr. Nolan, I understand the frustration in being a businessman. There's a lot of red tape to go through. And we want to give you special treatment like we want to give every person who applies special treatment. That's how Arundecoit should do business. So I'm certainly willing to meet with you and Mr. Sidoti and anyone from the town to try to smooth the process. Okay.
Any other comments? Should we keep the public hearing open?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay. So,
Where do we go from here?
schedule a meeting.
Yeah, I think the next step would be schedule a meeting as soon as we can.
Well, with the House of Guitars, that's one issue, but that doesn't resolve my concerns and my inability to proceed with this project until we get what we're.
Can you give us a list of exactly what rules you'd like?
It's not the rules, it's the design review of the design.
Maybe I should say the process. Just give us a look at.
Because it's getting the purpose for asking for this is that's getting blown way out of proportion, and we're having way too much say in the development that we're paying for. They need to relinquish to us the ability to plan things within I-Square with regard. So eliminate the design review for the site plan, landscaping, signage, architecture, and public amenities. It's one paragraph spelled out in your MUC code. That paragraph needs to be made an exception for I-Square. So I'm not going to continue to do this and discuss with these 7 gentlemen exactly which lights we want on the sides of the doors outside our art gallery. I'm sorry. That's a decision that we're going to make.
Mr. Nolan, but that is part of the MUC restrictions?
Yeah.
Because MUC is very restrictive, yes.
I understand that, but it can't be for I-Square. It shouldn't be. You guys should be able to make exceptions for a project for anybody that comes into this town that tells you they want to build you a town center per your master plan. You should open your arms up and say, yes, we'll give you anything we did for Mr. Nolan.
Okay, but we need to understand that's the Cooper-Titus-Hudson master plan, right?
Yeah, mixed-use commercial.
Okay.
And
The mixed-use commercial of the Cooper-Titus-Hudson master plan. Okay.
That's right. You have 2 of them now?
Pardon me?
Do we have 2 MUC codes now? For 2 areas? I thought that was the only one.
No, when you use the word master plan, there's a town-wide master plan versus the one that was done for the Cooper-Titus-Hudson master plan. That's why I asked you for the clarification. Okay. And the MUC plan is very restrictive because there's a great deal of residential there, and it's mixed-use commercial and residential all coexisting together. And I suppose any changes to that would require public hearings. And
if I have to look at the MUC code, but my general sense, and I would, defer to the town's planning council. But if we're talking about making an exception to a code that doesn't have an exception built into it, then what we're talking about is amending the code and changing the town code.
Might not be easy.
Unfortunately, to change and amend town code, state law says how you have to amend town code. So, I'm optimistic based on what I've heard that some resolution on what are really your issues can be reached quickly, but amending the code will slow this down.
Our issues don't go away.
Okay, I understand. Thank you.
So, Mr. Nolan, what you're looking for is a final site, right?
Yes, sir.
That's what you're looking for, and these issues that you have are stopping you from getting to that point. Is that what?
They are, and it's also a concern is going forward, because if the site plan only approves us for our first building, that means every time I want to build my next building, I got to come back and
so the
sit
one you're
before the
going for
planning
is
board.
your very first building.
Yeah, but I want the rule to apply across the board for when we build this. We're going to design it our way, we're going to build it our way, or it's not going to be built. Fair enough?
Yeah. And just one little opinion, if you don't have patience developing, wait till construction starts. You better have patience. Okay.
I don't know, having been through it myself.
Well, I think we just need to set a meeting. We need to find out what we legally can and cannot do. I just think that's really got to be the bottom line here.
Thanks, dear. I don't mean to give you one more thing on your platter.
Oh, yes. Hi, sorry. I wasn't on to speak. My name is Tricia Moyles. I live at 104 Scotch Lane. And what I'm picking up from all of this is a lot of frustration and a lot of miscommunication. And my question is, how is it that we're sitting here and we are listening to one hand not knowing what the other hand is doing?
Are you talking about the difference between the town board and the planning board?
Yes, I am.
Oh, I'm glad you asked that question.
This all should have been avoided.
We're independent body.
Yeah, we cannot influence the planning board.
Under
We are the
penalty of
town
law.
board. We can't influence the planning board or the zoning board.
I'm not saying influence. I'm saying a sharing of information so that what is happening here tonight, doesn't happen again. This is why the master plan, when was it? 2003? This is why it is still here, 2012.
You know, I watched the master plan meetings, the last few. They do their business. What they've been doing is very normal for them. I think it's unusual to have someone come to us and say, we don't want to be subject to the planning board's rules and regulations. But I certainly do know what's going on. I'm also not allowed to be biased by law. And even the fact that we've been saying that we're thrilled and excited about this project is probably something that if someone didn't want this project, they could sue us and say that we were always biased in favor of Mr. Nolan. So it's a very delicate dance. The planning board, there are things they have to do their environmental review. They have to.
It's a delicate dance.
And
Who's
we
playing
have
the
to
music?
see, and we have to see the full plans in detail, stamped by an engineer, before we can approve anything. We have to.
I understand that.
So we are not.
But how many times will this occur?
It'll occur with every project that comes before the town. And it'll occur with every project that comes before any town.
How many roadblocks do you put in front of someone to develop?
It's a very, very tough thing. I will agree with you, and it's a shame. But that's what we have. That's what state law requires. That's what municipal law requires.
And I do understand that. I do understand that.
And, you know,
But
when
as you sat
Wilmerite
here and
goes
said-
to Eastview or whatever, this is what they go through.
LA Fitness just had to go through it.
And I do understand that. But if it becomes so difficult...
Yes, they are. Actually, they are. They're the kind of project we want, and we did everything that we can to make that project happen.
But if it becomes so difficult for anyone to step forward to do something, nothing's going to get done.
Well,
so what I
an
am saying,
engineer
and
like
I
Mr.
understand what you're
Kiefer-
saying.
An engineer like Mr. Kiefer has successfully brought project after project after project through this process. And there are a number of people out there like Mr. Kiefer who can tell their clients exactly how to go through. That's their job.
I think what needs to be done is there needs to be more communication. Things need to be discussed between boards before you come forward to the public so that you avoid the feelings of frustrations and upset
We're
that you have
actually
here
not
happening.
allowed to do that because we have to do everything publicly. We do not talk in private about these things at all.
How many times does Mr. Nolan have to come to a meeting, be told one thing, leaves, he comes back with what he was told, and then at that meeting there's something different?
I know that that's how this process has been characterized from the point of view of a person who's been in government for the past 15 years, watching the planning board meetings. That is not my interpretation of what's been occurring.
So we stand at a standstill.
Okay, now I'm looking at memos, November 18th, November 28th, and these are sent to the respective individuals detailing what is to happen on those specific dates. Everything from what plans have to be presented, to the traffic studies, to everything from sanitary precast manholes. It's all delineated here. I have copies of what is required for each meeting. So I'm not quite sure what you are stating.
You want to, and I think that may be part of the problem. It's because everyone's sitting here wondering what is needed, what's not needed.
Well, it's...
And
this is a memo right to Bob Kiefer, Adam Proctor, Mike Nolan from Larry Heininger,
copied to Planning Board members Dan Arelli Esquire, Pat Meredith, concerning I-Square plans and public presentation on 11/28 for the pre-application meeting. It's all delineated what's needed for the engineering plans, the report, everything from road, water, sanitary, sewer, traffic. We have the letter from Terry Rice, which recommends the new intersection. I have where from the Department of Planning and Development, from Renee Kassler, that says, the Grange Hall is designated as a local designation historic site. It is located at 645 Titus Avenue. Care should be exercised to ensure that this local historic resource is not adversely impacted by this proposal. That's why we're taking time to do our due diligence. The second thing says, site plans should show the proposed sediment and erosion control methods and locations to be used during construction. Details of all controls should be shown on the plans, along with notes indicating who is responsible for maintenance of the controls during construction and for removal of the controls after ground cover is reestablished. Approved erosion controls should be in place before earthwork begins. These are all the stipulations, even coming from the county planning. These all have to be followed.
And I do understand that. But I think bottom line, what I've gotten out of this is the fact that things aren't going to be moved forward because there's not a lot of communication going on. Everyone is saying we want, what he wants, what she wants, but the project is at a standstill.
We're not causing the standstill.
We have to get the plans.
We must have the plans. We
And
need
I can understand that. I think
sealed
bottom line,
engineering plans.
what,
No, they're not sealed.
Those are,
Mike, those are renderings. Those are renderings. They're not
we
engineer
need
plans.
the engineered sealed plans.
You guys got to decide if you want I-Square belt. They were submitted by T. Wyman, the same one that Ms. Aldersley just told us that they know how to submit. They have those things.
So those are, they have the raised, they have their raised
And they
approved
have the
architectural
raised
seal?
seal and are approved.
There's a process for that. They go through, and you can ask the planning board people and Larry. We're debating something stupid. That is not the reason.
Can you see how we can't go forward without that seal?
For a second. What it says in here,
Uh-huh.
and what that letter says, everything was satisfied on that letter. The
Okay.
items that they sat and rattled off to me last night at the end of the planning board meeting were not in any of those letters, in any memo, in any note to me.
Okay.
And 3 of the 7 items we had never discussed before in any form or fashion.
Okay.
They continue to drive for their own agenda on how they're designing I-Square. Too bad. No.
Oh, well. Mr. Heininger, you had your hand up?
Please.
Yeah, I would just like people in the audience and people watching on television. We have a timeline. Back in August, Mike came to the planning board workshop to talk about this project, and obviously we're all very much in favor. So that was in August, and his question was, are you in favor of this project? Should I go forward? Should I hire an engineer? Should I invest my time and money? And the answer was a resounding yes. Now, because of the Muck Code, unlike any other part in town, you have to have a pre-application meeting with the planning board. And the point of that is, because it's such a sensitive area, we don't want people to be doing things and spending time and money spinning their wheels. So on the 14th of November, we had at the workshop the pre-application review to make sure that the plans coming in were what were needed. And then on the 28th, we had the pre-application public hearing, also required by the Muck Code town law. Based on that public hearing, Mike's engineers worked diligently into December and very close up to the Christmas holiday and submitted plans so that we could go out for a 30-day coordinated review required so he could be at the planning board last night. Now, we had our workshop 2 weeks ago, and this has been advised to Mike by the planning board and by his Bob Kiefer. You have 7 buildings. You want overall site plan approval. Now, obviously, building a road, the road will be there with building 1. Why don't you get preliminary overall site plan and then final for building 1? And if you want to change something in building 2 or 3 or 4, as you work through this process over the next 3 or 4 years, you will come back with that drawing specifically for that building. Otherwise, you have to provide a lot of upfront specificity of what is being approved. And it's time and money. And he's been advised both by mostly his design professional, but also by the town. He can do it either way. So last night was the first time that the board could grant a preliminary approval. We received county comments on Thursday, and Supervisor DeRizio was reading those county comments. One of them, on page 3, says a traffic impact study is required. The scope was discussed with the developer and town at a meeting on 12/27/11, which was a Tuesday, right after the Christmas weekend. That came from Monroe County Department of Transportation. His consultants are working diligently to finish that traffic study. Based on that study, do the alignment of the Cooper-Titus intersection and submit the required plans, because when a planning board gives an approval, it bases it on plans dated on a certain day. And we got plans yesterday at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, 2 drawings updated at 10 drawing set. None of them have been sealed. That's okay. I can review sewers and water main without seals on them. But ultimately, for the board to grant an approval, it has to be based on this drainage report dated a certain day, sealed by an engineer of record licensed in the state. The same with the traffic study, and the same with the plans. The board would love to grant approval in 3 weeks. His engineers need time. This is a big project. It's an $8 to $10 million project, ultimately. It's been less than 2 months since we got started at the end of November.
Okay.
It's not a matter of communication. It's just there's a lot of work and it needs to be done properly. We have other projects in the town that also have to be done properly.
Okay. What I would like to say, let's call an end to this right now and make sure that Councilman Morosco, Mr. Nolan, and Larry Heininger meet as soon as you can to review and facilitate the process. I appreciate your stepping up to the plate for that. And so Mr. Heininger and Mr. Nolan to get together and he asked about tomorrow morning.
Sooner the better for me.
Well, and what about, do you want the attorney for House of Guitars in on this at this point?
He said he was available.
Okay.
I think it'd be wise.
If we're all done with this part, why don't we step outside for a second? We'll schedule.
All right, sounds good.
Okay? Okay. All right. Okay, so therefore we will keep
Absolutely.
this open?
Sure. And Mr. Nolan, I want to assure you, what we can do, we absolutely will do. Absolutely.
Some design things that got to be fixed.
Sure.
I cannot deal with going ahead with this. It's not, you don't know what it feels like to put this kind of money out there and then have
No, I don't.
But Mike, some of us do know. We've been there. We know.
I'm not going to put up with it for this one. I did for my house, I did for our business, for stuff that was building stuff for me. This I'm building for the town. Don't nitpick me. Thank you. Have a great night.
Why don't we take a break?
Yeah.
Okay, let us take a 5-minute break.
Sounds good. Thanks for coming, folks.
We hope you enjoyed this presentation of
items for board action.
Item 1A, 2012-2, authorizing the attendance of police officer to the police academy.
Motion, please. Second?
Second.
All right, any discussion? This is to put a candidate into the academy beginning in February. Any other discussion? All right, hearing none. Let us vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Item 1A, 2012-3, authorizing the promotion to auto mechanic foreman.
Motion, thank you. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion? You can see a very impressive letter and resume for Mark Newman. This position will be for the retiring Keith Kreiser as foreman. This is the auto mechanic foreman according to the civil service title. Is Mark here? Hi, Mark. How are you? Okay, let's hope this goes well for you. If not, we'll meet you after for a drink. Any discussion? All those in favor? Yes.
I would like to speak about Mark, if that's okay.
Oh, surely.
Okay. Mark Newman has 21 years of service with the town of Irondequoit. I just think everybody else should know this. In 1989, Mark received his Associates in Applied Science degree for heavy equipment, truck and diesel automotive service from Alfred State College. Mark has continued his education and training in this field consistently since that time, helping to keep our mechanic shop in tune with the latest technologies. Prior to 1998, the police force had their own mechanic. After the mechanic's retirement, Mark was a key player in the Highway Department's ability to absorb that position and continue to prepare all the police department vehicles for use and keep them maintained. Also, to Mark's credit, he has an exceptional work ethic. He has built up his sick bank and has donated some of his own days to other fellow workers in need. He is, and I'm sure will continue to be a great asset to the town.
Well, all I can say, Mark, is Patrick just set the bar really high for you. We know you'll live up to it, though.
All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, let us vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Congratulations, Mark.
Item 1A, 2012-4, authorizing the promotion to police sergeant in the Irondequoit Police Department.
Okay. Okay, yes, thank you. Motion, second?
A second.
All right, now discussion. This is under human resource, so I don't know if Mrs. Watrow or the chief wants to speak.
Civil service position. It's filling a vacancy of a sergeant of a police officer who retired. This will take effect near the end of February. This candidate scored number 1 on the civil service list from Monroe County. So, and I feel very comfortable in promoting this individual to the rank of police sergeant at IPD.
Thank you.
Mr. Chief, and just for the people at home, we had this conversation at the workshop where the sergeant comes off the road, but you have, I want to explain all that. That was important to us.
Sure. I wanted to make sure that there was enough, that I wasn't losing a uniformed road patrolman off of a platoon. We had, the board had hired a new officer back in the fall. That officer just completed his field training and now is on the road alone. So I'm taking making this promotion of this sergeant won't leave a vacancy in the road patrol, but it will also cut down and a lot of overtime for command officers because we're running a little short due to sickness on command officers.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay, great explanation. All right, any other discussion? Hearing none, let us vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. And John, would you like to stand up and be recognized?
No?
Oh, he's not here tonight?
I only scored number 3. I'll try harder
See, I can't even see who's sitting back there.
Thank you. That was nice to have a little brevity.
Were you number 3?
Technically tied for number 2, yes.
Oh, wow.
Your turn's coming.
Well, thank you for your service anyway, officer.
All right, thank you.
Item 1A, 2012-5, authorizing the supervisor to execute and administer the agreement with Apple Incorporated for town participation in Apple Developer Program.
Motion, please?
Motion.
And second?
Second.
And, okay, now in discussion, I'll just, Nate is downstairs by himself tonight, so he is unable to come up to discuss this. This resolution was worked through with our attorneys at Harder Seacrest, and what we're excited about this is we are using those quick code apps to have residents go to certain sites on website. They can do a historical tour of the town and on smartphones. Well, this one will allow those that use iPhones and iPads to now be able to do that on your phones. And what we're excited about, we have only just that first enrollment fee of $99 to allow this function to take place as we continue to move towards more electronic viewing of government, making it easier for our residents to find out what's going on. So we're really excited about that. And it's just been proposed, and we can do it now.
Yeah. And Apple requires this if we're going to partner with them.
That is correct. Any other discussion? Hearing none, let us vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Item 1A, 2012-6, authorizing the purchase of a Caterpillar 420E IT loader backhoe.
Motion? I'll move it. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Discussion, and Peter, would you like to just talk about this briefly?
Sure. This is a piece of equipment that was approved in the 2012 budget. It will be primarily used for our cemetery services division. We will also be able to use it in the parks division. It's to replace an older piece of equipment that we have, and that older piece of equipment will be taken to auction.
Thank you. Any questions? Hearing none, let us vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Item 1A, 2012-7, awarding the bid for Arundecoit Police locker room renovation.
Motion, please.
Moved.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. Chief.
That's a project that has been approved through capital funding, and we went out to bid for quotes to do this locker room. This locker room has outlived its usefulness. That's like a second home for the police officers, and it just plain became too small with all the new equipment that we have. So we asked for improvement to improve that locker room through the capital funds, and fortunately, Pat, sitting next to me, really played an important role in getting this thing underway and getting the bids on. We probably wouldn't have been able to do it without his assistance.
What about my researching of the lockers?
The lockers aren't included in this one. You get to take credit for that later.
The lockers aren't in this one?
No.
Whoa, I think we need to correct the record, too, on the amount. Do you have that?
Yes, I
Mrs.
have it.
Janier, thank you.
This is just to get ready for the lockers.
Wow.
The lockers are another 80 grand.
Okay. Any other discussion?
No.
Hearing none? Let us vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. So we're on that way to those new locker rooms.
Item 1A, 2012-8, authorizing approval for educational expense.
Motion, please.
Moved.
Second. Thank you. And Chief?
This is the approval for payment for college courses for the officer per the PBA contract. Once he successfully completes these courses, the town will reimburse him again through the PBA contract.
Okay.
And it is under the new contract.
Thank you, Chief. Okay, and this is for Officer Jason Murphy. Any other discussion? Hearing none, let us vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Item 1A, 2012-9, authorizing the supervisor to execute an agreement for Monroe County all-season work in Monroe County rights of way.
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. And this one simply is like many of the other agreements that we have executed. This one is from January 1st, 2012 to December 31st. So I don't think there's really much to add unless Mr. Meredith wants to add anything.
Yeah, essentially, the major change, which is really not a major change, is the fringe rates per labor hour for full-time, regular, and overtime hours, and the rates are being increased by 3% from what they were in 2011.
That's revenue for us.
Okay, great. Any other discussion?
Nope.
Hearing none, let us vote. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Item 1A, 2012-10, awarding two 2012 or newer model year municipal parks tractors.
So moved.
And a second? I'll second it. All right. Patrick?
I'm just going to read off a little bit of the resolution here. The town of
Just a little bit.
The town of Arundequoit requested bids for two 2012 model year or newer municipal park tractors, and whereas a municipal parks tractor is a multi-use heavy-duty tractor designed to be used as a trackless sidewalk plow and lawnmower, and whereas each tractor has a number of attachments allowing a multitude of uses and versatility throughout the various seasons in a year, and whereas the above referenced tractors will be used to replace two trackless sidewalk plows that have exceeded their usefulness of equipment and productivity, and whereas one of the above referenced tractors will be used to mow approximately 1.8 miles along both sides of the median of Seabreeze Drive, which requires a different type of mower than the town currently owns to effectively and efficiently mow the area, which is unique from other mowing locations. And whereas a resolution will go before the town board at the February or March 2012 town board meeting requested the old trackless sidewalk plows to be declared surplus and sold at the annual spring auction.
And besides, they're really cool looking.
Well, I'll have to be honest and tell you, I tried putting these in our budget last year, and the budget just would not accommodate these. So we had, I think, probably 3 different demonstrations, and we did it along Seabreeze Drive. And it is phenomenal to see this equipment with the lawnmowers as wings and how they are able to, literally with the terrain, they bounce along to minimize any damage. And they will also serve to be the sidewalk plows by taking those attachments off. They're extremely heavy duty. They are the protection of the drivers in them are phenomenal, and because they're air conditioned, because they're closed, it'll make it easier for them during the lawn mowing season and heated during the snow season. They really also, why I like them, is going to reduce labor costs because these cover such a large area and reduce the number of people we have out there doing.
Fabulous.
I'd also like to add that compared to the older models we have, the fuel consumption will be approximately $5 per hour less.
Wow.
So it's a considerable savings there.
Yeah, they're phenomenal pieces of equipment. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, we're excited. So, any other discussion? Hearing none, let us vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Item 1A, 2012-11, reappointing Planning Board Chairman.
Motion?
So moved.
Second.
Second.
Thank you. And I'll read this one. Whereas Mr. Peter Wiener, AIA, has served on the Arundecoit Planning Board since 2007 when he was appointed for a 7-year term, and Mr. Peter Wiener, AIA, was appointed by the town board to serve as chairman of the Arundecoit Planning Board in 2010 and 2011, and whereas the town board desires to fill the chairman appointment by reappointing Peter Wiener with a term expiring December 31st, 2013, this resolution taking effect immediately upon his adoption. And as you know, I always am looking for the brightest, the most talented to head very difficult positions within the town. He is an associate senior project architect with Passero. He has been the project manager for the town of Webster Recreation Center, the town of Perth Highway Garage, the Rochester Housing Authority, the Rochester Genesee Regional Transportation Authority, the Lakeshore Fire Department, the Churchville Fire Department, the Gates Fire District, Hamlin Fire Hall, the Victor Historical Firehouse, the Victor Farmington Volunteer Ambulance, various other firehouses for the city of Rochester. He's even into golfing, the Ravenwood Golf Course. I could go on and on. He's done healthcare facilities, he's done schools, commercial properties, Cornell University, Finger Lakes Community College, airports, religious facilities, just a phenomenal resume of his work. And as you can see, he does definitely have the experience in architecture, real estate development, construction, design, build, to lead this town through very difficult planning stages. And therefore, I recommend highly, with over his 20 years of experience, to continue. He also received his master's degree at Clemson, so that's adding another feather into his cap. So,
Well, Madam Supervisor, it's 5 pages
Yes.
of accomplishments.
yes, and I was trying to be humble for him in not even mentioning some of these, because I do not want to embarrass him.
It's too late. Well, first of all, I think we talked about this before. I think the planning board it's right now, it's in a very important role in this town. We saw it tonight. We've been listening to people. Sometimes when you don't do what people want, they get a little discouraged. They want, they make comments. No, as a board member, I know that all too well. But I think he's a great asset right now, and we got to keep him as a planning chairman right now for what we see going forward. I don't think it's time to change any role right now. I really don't. We got a lot of important issues coming towards in the town coming forward. So
I think
I'm in total support of this.
We're really blessed that Mr. Wehner wants to continue with us, and he knows what it's like on the other side of the table, coming to boards and planning boards, and what people's plans ought to look like, and what the process is, and I'm delighted that you're willing to serve again. Thank you so much.
Any other discussion? All right, hearing none, let us vote. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Motion carries. Would you like to stand and be recognized, Peter?
All right, Peter.
And on my updated agenda, we had another resolution that I would like to have a motion to table. This is the public hearing in the matter of the Seabreeze Fire District. Due to no fault of the fire department or any individuals. I just see some things that we need to fine tooth on this, so I would like to table it and then contact you all when we will be able to present this
That's no problem.
in the
I'll
very
move it.
near future.
Sure, I'll move it.
Okay?
Second.
All right, any discussion on that then? Okay, all those in favor of tabling? Aye. Okay, thank you very much. And then, the last item is that I would like to have a motion to go into executive session to discuss some immediate pending litigation that is before the town of Arundecoit.
So moved.
Thank you. And so, we will go into the first floor conference room. Pending litigation, and therefore, we adjourned out of executive session.
Yes, ma'am.
And like to reconvene here.
So moved.
And thank you. Do we have anything else to bring before this body tonight?
Ma'am, not as far as I'm concerned.
Okay. All right, and if you could look at your calendars to see if that Thursday.
February 23rd, huh?
Because I'm in.
For a regular board meeting.
At 7 p.m.
That's a Thursday, right? I don't have my. Okay.
I don't have my calendar.
Okay, it is the 23rd.
Okay.
Would have been my dad's birthday.
Oh.
So yes. Okay, let us plan then, due to my being at the Association of Towns in February, that the next town board meeting will be February 23rd, but the workshop will still be February 15th.
That 23rd, I am in Syracuse that night.
Oh.
But you don't have to have me here. You'll be here. But
You won't be back in time?
No, I'm overnight in Syracuse. It's
Okay.
Thursday. I got agriculture all day, and then it's Ag Day in Syracuse too. They got a big task force.
Okay, unless you want to keep it the 21st and my not being there.
No, I don't want to do that.
Okay, we'll keep it the 23rd. We will miss you, Councilwoman Esley.
You can give me your proxy.
Yeah, that's right.
Exactly what it is. And may I have a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
And a second? And I'm sure you're all in favor of it, aren't you?
We are.
Okay. So we are adjourned.
Enjoyed this presentation of the Arundecoit Town Board on ICAT 12, Arundecoit's government access channel.